Hey everyone, this is OotiniCast episode 421 being recorded on August 31st of 2021, and we will get going with a real podcast in a minute. This is the raw version of the show with all the flubs and errors and whatever left intact. This goes up on YouTube, and then the audio is polished and put out as a podcast the next day. So let me go ahead and tweet out that we're alive. And then we're very near the top of the hour. We can get going.
Cool. I'm poised to retweet. La 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 la. Da da da. Yeah 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 yeah.
All right, it is tweeted. I think I'll even do a retweet today. Why not?
Heart.
Let's see. Have they?
Retweet.
I'm looking at. Oh, I also noticed the SWTOR thing. I want to see if. No, they just had the additional maintenance message, but they haven't necessarily confirmed that the little hotfix went through, but apparently it has. All right.
Hey, Master Lil. Hello.
Where'd it go? Hey, Lil. And Lone Wolf. Hey, Lone Wolf.
Hey, what's up, Wolfie?
There it is. Okay. All right. And we're basically at the top of the hour now. Kitty, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. I'm trying to think of a quick...
I'm not sure, Lone Wolf. I'm not sure if we have it set for links or not. But if you... Oh, it works. Okay, there we go. Server status, yeah.
Answer that real quick.
Yep. Well, it's just on my channel. I have that disabled just to... It tends to discourage bots a little bit. But we haven't had too many bot issues, at least not that kind of issue. So.
Uh-oh. Knock on wood.
Right, exactly. It could always happen. Let me go ahead and move this here. All right. Then, yeah, Kitty, if you're good to go, your Audacity's rolling.
Audacity is rolling.
All right, then I think we're good to go. Let me have some water, and we'll go on 5.
I know.
Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. Once you figure out one, the rest are easy. This is episode 421, being recorded on Tuesday, August 31st, 2021. I'm your host, Chill. With me is my co-host, Kittykissz. Hey, Kitty.
Hi, Chill.
Yes, do you recognize that quote? It's a recent one. That is Cad Bane talking about clones and killing clones. Once you figure out one, the rest are easy.
I'm actually on my second watch through.
Nice.
So I'll get to that.
Again, pretty soon. Yeah, he's in that one episode about halfway through it.
Nice.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a hiccup in the stream, but you sound okay still.
Okay, yeah, it sounded like you digitized there for a
moment. And you did
but...
for me, so yeah. That was the Discord thing, I guess, I suppose.
Now we're pregnant.
Yeah. What are you up to?
It takes me probably sometimes 2 to 3 hours to get out of work brain mode. And man, it has been just busy at work, and I am just beat.
Right.
I feel like I could go to bed like right after we're done. But
yeah.
So my mind is still kind of getting like, oh, I'm talking to you, Jill. Hi.
Yeah.
It starts to float away and think about, okay, blah, 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 blah. And anyway, I've been doing a lot of streaming. I am 17 follows away from 2K followers.
Nice. Congratulations.
Very, thank you. I'm very excited about that. I've been playing my Kitty Benico, and we have just started coffee. So we have been getting a little bit of Lana on Lana action.
Nice.
And it is juicy. I notice whenever I go in for a kiss, or, whenever like Kitty Benico goes in for a kiss I'm like, screenshot, trying to get a good shot. But it seems like either one of the two characters will like get in the way, so you can't get a really good Lana on Lana shot. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try like hell to get that shot. It's just kind of funny because right now I've just started with coffee, so we've had the old Lana.
Yeah.
What I call Sniffles Lana.
Yeah. Sith Gold Lana. Yeah.
And of course, the Lana that I created is the Lana 2.0. So I'm excited to see that,
right, because it's really close. Yeah, because they gave the hairstyle, the hairstyles available in the game with like the little swoop in front and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. And a lot of people are. What's really funny is people come in like, how do you? A couple people did this. They go, how did you?
How'd you get her unlocked as a character?
Lana, how is that a? So it's kind of like I'll take a minute and be like, oh yeah, well you have to chase a mouse droid on this one thing. I'm like, no, don't go do that. Don't go do that. Don't. I'm just joking. But so that's been fun, and I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I think I might actually do a little bit more cosplay on a different character, but I am not sure.
Nice.
I have no idea. I finally got through season 1 of Galactic Seasons, and I can confirm that once you get to the end, you will get enough of the companion gifts to level that
the guy
Arthur up to 50.
Right.
And then once you get to 50, you can go into your you hit Y, go into your legacy, and you can unlock it for all of your characters.
Nice.
So that's really, really cool.
And does he have, once you've done that, does he then accept regular gifts for other characters?
No, he won't accept any of the traditional companion gifts.
Even once you've gone through and done it on one character.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
You have to get it, but they do have those things for sale for credits. So you don't have to spend the
Galactic
Season tokens.
Good.
You can just buy it. And also they're really expensive, but they
do give you a lot of points.
Really give you a lot points.
Yeah, I remember it's like 5,000 and 10,000 and stuff.
Yeah, I think one is 15,000 or something like that. They're really, really... Anyway, so it's cost you several million credits to get a companion up anyway with the traditional gifts.
True.
And this is... I think it's about roughly the same.
Right.
But it's
that's good.
It's cool. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That's way to go. That's good to know.
I like him, and I've heard people saying that they don't like his.
It's definitely going to be one of those things that's polarizing.
Right.
I like it, but yeah, I can see where it's like, and I've had people in streams, in chat say like, yeah, I really don't like that guy's voice.
I have this weird kind of, I hate to say triggered, but it always makes me think of Star Wars when the guy tattletales on
on the Falcon.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, you bastard! So when he goes, I always get this like feeling of like, oh, who are you telling on?
Deck's wondering if you can do the 1 to 50 token for the new companion.
That's interesting. I am not sure. I think I do have a one of those tokens. So I'll check and see, and I'll get back to you guys next week.
Right.
And we'll confirm or deny that. But I don't know. Yeah, okay. I'm not exactly sure. Also, I got on pretty late. I had to update the game. And I was doing some other stuff around the house very lethargically today when I got home. And I didn't know that they had the new Obi-Wan robes. And the first thing I did was I went on and I bought some coin and I jumped on my character and I bought those robes because I've wanted them since the start of the game.
Right.
I've wanted just traditional Jedi robes, and
by which it means Obi-Wan robes.
Yeah, it's just like
no one else.
It looks like the traditional Jedi robe, but without the bathrobe on. And I've wanted it forever. And I can confirm that it dyes superbly. It is fantastic. You can get a really good look, a really good like black look on it, because everybody loves to dye black, with the dye pack from the cartel market. What's it called? It's slipping my mind. On Fleet, the Cartel Bazaar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, getting the one black, it looks great.
Okay.
Really, really cool. But
nice.
yeah.
We've had a couple of chat things. So apparently, yes, you can token the new companion. So that's cool.
Oh, nice.
Also,
Good.
Deck is saying that to him, it doesn't look so much like Obi robes. To him, it's Luke from the Last Jedi Kylo fight. Which, I don't know. To me, I mean, maybe, but if so, then they're sure marketing it as Obi-Wan robes anyway, because they're putting it with a male Jedi with sort of that reddish blonde hair and the beard and everything.
I think Decion's drunk. Yeah, it definitely looks like...
to me, it looks like Obi-Wan's robes as well, like literally from the prequel era.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan's my favorite character, so yay.
Cool.
I'm all over it. But that's about it for me. What up with you in chat?
All right, well, let's see who shows up in the chat list. We've got quite a few people here today already. 152 Domino, 24 Fan Lover, Alfred Hitchco, Altul, Everyron, Bantha Mojito, Q-Cart, Deck is here, Floplag, Hen So High, Immortalized Love, Carrie Loon, Kitty Treats is here, Kogas, Lone Wolf, Hi Lone Wolf, Mako Marquis, Master Lil's here, N7, who was in my chat earlier, and I do see him a lot actually, Squishy Twitchy, Sin Wolf, Tsunami Safari are all here. I thought I saw a couple that were showing up in chat but didn't show up on the list, and if so, I'm sorry it didn't show up, but hey, everyone, thanks for coming, and let's see. So I did both of the Jar Jar Joyride since the last time. We did a Ravagers on the Republic side. I was on Tank Guardian. We got through it pretty solidly. Not too much to, not too bad to talk about or anything. Not too exciting, but to talk about. But it was fun, really fun to do. It's been a while since I've done Ravagers. And then last Friday, the Jar Jar Joyride was the all bounty hunter Scum and Villainy, which was really fun. So I was on my healing main. Like I have a DPS main, a tank main, and a healing main, and then I swap the gear and I have them on both sides. So I was on my healing main, which is a Lara Croft character. And so she's fully geared. But on the other hand, I don't really practice her much in terms of other than just doing some dailies and stuff. So doing like more serious like operation or flashpoint healing, very new to that. Really fun. We actually had we had a 16 person operation, and I think we had 4 healers, all merc though, which makes it a little interesting because you can only have like one of the special merc healer buffs on one at any one time, that sort of thing. So you're losing out on a little synergy by not having the other healers. But yeah, we managed to get through it just fine. Actually, it was really fun. So Teresa was there. She had never been. She had always wanted to do an all one class operation before, but had never had the opportunity. So she jumped in with us. So that was fun to have her along. Cool. She also tweeted out about it, so you might have seen those tweets if you follow her. So yeah, but and really very solid. There was like very little wiping, not that many deaths at all. Really well. It was really fun, especially just like doing the goofy stuff. Like at the beginning, everyone did their AoE blaster fire, like suppressive fire or whatever it's called, and just the screen lighting up with blaster bolts. You watching them go off in the distance. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
I felt reasonably good as a healer. I mean, like I said, she's completely kitted out with like 306 gear with the right set bonuses, the right tactical, and even augments and amplifiers. Like pretty much the best I could get. I mean, except for it's the regular amplifiers, not augments, rather not like the super augments because I'm not doing Duxon. So, but anyway. And so other than just my inability, because I have not, done serious healing on her before, But if I felt reasonably useful, and it felt like I was doing pretty well. And like I said, no one was really dying very much, so there was not really any wiping or anything like that going on, and it was just tons of fun. It was very interesting too to me because because I haven't done much operation healing at all, and never in this operation for sure. It's just seeing a lot of the fights from this point of view was a lot different. Like, which ones do I have to move out of? Where do I have to stand? Who do I need to focus on? Do I need to cleanse a debuff? Stuff like that. So, yeah, new stuff all the time. What were you going to say, though?
Oh, I was just going to say that we've done that several times, had an all, a Sork run, or we've done an all bounty hunter run before. And it's always so fun. I always have a blast when we run those. Yeah. Sadly, I couldn't make it, but I love it. Good.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was a great time. So yeah, 16-man. It's crazy just with that many people. Like, for example, Meltzer was along, and he managed to get through most of it, but then his computer was just like not handling it, and he started disconnecting, and he just could not keep a connection. It was just too much for his computer to handle, so he had to drop out, unfortunately. But he got through like most of the more than half the operation before that happened.
So you guys finished it with 15?
Yes. I don't think anyone else came back. Maybe someone else. I think someone else might have joined in later, but I don't remember 100%.
Cool.
Which is funny because, like, as a healer, you do nothing but stare at like everyone's life bars. So like if there was 16 or 15, I should have noticed. And I mean, I did notice when there was 15, but if it went back to 16, I honestly can't remember. It probably Go ahead.
Not to mention, you probably have it blown up too, right?
Yeah. Well,
like you have it a little larger.
Kind of. I just have
it.
I just have it the way I had it. So
okay.
It's a pretty reasonable size for me, and I like it the way I like it. You know what I mean? So it's like if I'm tanking, it's the same size. If I do DPS, it's the same size. And even healing, like I think if I was really only a healer, I probably would make it just a touch bigger. But it was plenty big enough that I could click on someone if I needed to click on their health bar.
Gotcha.
And believe me, I was clicking on plenty of health bars.
I bet.
That's literally all you do. It's like you only look over just to make sure you're not standing on something red. That's about it.
Right. I have very limited experience in healing, but I think the healers, my healers are the only ones that deviate from my normal HUD setup.
Right.
Otherwise, everything is the same.
Yeah.
But I
get it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Apparently we actually never quite got to 16. So it was a 16-person operation, but we had 14, and then when it dropped off, it was odd, and you could tell that it was odd. But yeah, it wasn't 16. It was actually dropping from like 14 to 13. Yeah. Anyway, lots of fun. I did also guest on Working Class Nerds with Marcus and Nick. That was a ton of fun. We talked about Star Wars, a bunch of other nerdy stuff. So go check that out. It's on all the usual podcast places, Working Class Nerds. Plus, we also talked about podcasting and streaming. It was really good. A little bit, I think it was a little over 2 hours, maybe almost 3. Anyway, we talked a good long time. It was a lot of fun. So thanks, guys, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Let's see. In SWTOR itself, back to SWTOR, Lee Van Cleef cosplay. Remember, he's a bounty hunter, and he only uses like reasonably old-fashioned things. So like shots that come from his gun, utilities that don't involve a lot of droids or other obviously high-tech stuff. So kind of a limited ability set. He is just finishing Yavin 4. I managed to finish it actually just before the show, about an hour before the show. So it'll be off to Zyos next. Still really enjoying it. I did have to actually put Mako on heals for the Revan fight, just because I've been keeping her on damage, because it feels very weird and not like 19th century to have someone coming along giving you all these crazy high-tech heals all the time. So normally I have her DPSing because it feels the most low-tech. But I just can't. I tried, and I just wasn't getting through that fight without a healer. It was just crazy. It's nuts. That fight is just nuts anyway. There's so many stuns, so many heavy dots.
Long.
Yeah.
Those stun
Yeah.
slots, like the saber throw and the force choke.
You get knocked down for
yeah,
multiple seconds. It really it hurts, but it's still fun. In the last couple of weeks, got a fair bit of Galactic Starfighter in. The ships are slowly getting better on the pilot character, and I also feel like I'm getting better at it. Learning the energy control thing, which I did right around the time of the last show, really helped, because it's like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty important in this game, and you can either neutralize your energy, or you can sort of put it towards engines, towards weapons, or towards shields, and doing that makes a big difference. So, like, if you feel like you're running out of energy, engine energy, put it on engines, get your energy faster. If you're putting it in your weapons when they're in your sights, you can do a lot more damage. Anyway, it's really helpful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I've gotten that far.
Yeah, it's one of the key, like if you look through the keybinds, you'll see it, and then if you realize, oh, okay, that's something I can do, and then that's how I kind of, it's like, oh yeah, that's the keybinds I need to do for that. So now I'm doing it. I'm also working on my PvP leveling character, though. Like I mentioned in the last episodes, I found that ever since the end of the Nightlife event, since I'm trying to level her experience-wise through PvP and not also doing the class story, because she would already be 75 otherwise, since the end of the Nightlife event, it's like really hard to like want to do her very much, because like there's like these not long, but multiple minute waits in between queues, and it's like it's still, I did do some on her. She's about level 60, and she's starting to feel reasonably strong. Usually in the high B queue, the 70 to 74s are like the really strong ones after you get over level 43. Like the 70s to 74s tend to dominate a little bit because they have all their kits and all their passives and all that. But she feels reasonably good. On the PTS, I actually got on the PTS. Did you get a chance to do PTS at all?
I downloaded it, but that's about it. I didn't really go on. I watched Swotorista do a bit of it. I watched you do a bit of it, but I just I don't know. I mostly wanted to go on there because of the Kenobi robes, but
right. So I made a sniper. Did the little thing that automatically makes them 75. Decided to make her a marksman just because I've been doing that on some other characters, and it's like, okay, I know this spec well. I used to like not really have a UI or a keybind set on the test server, and it was a real problem, but I have a kind of a semi-reasonable one now. Unfortunately it's not, there's a few minor differences, and it kind of, sometimes it screws me up. Anyway, but it feels a lot better now.
Good. That's such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, what they were asking for on their posts was, if you're playing the sniper marksman, does it feel like a sniper marksman, or does it feel like a different class? It does feel like a sniper when you're doing regular stuff, because like most of the regular rotation is there. You have like the ambush followed by the follow through, and then your series of shots, and then plus a follow through if it goes through, and then 2 snipes and then a follow. All that stuff is kind of the same. Right. And so that part felt very, very much the same. And it'll be interesting to see, though, how they're going to do some of the other balancing. I was just doing daily stuff, because that's what they breadcrumb you to, is they breadcrumb you for Dawn. And actually, it is level 75 mobs there. So it definitely felt harder. Like, first of all, I didn't have like maxed out gear. The one companion I had was like influence level 1. So, and it definitely felt a lot weaker. And I don't know how much of that was the gear and the companion versus like since they bumped it from 70 to 75, how difficult the Onderon mobs are now, stuff like that. So, or how much of it was like the new class, like how they've changed the class. So it's a little hard to tell. One thing that really made a difference for me, because like I tried to get on like the Jedi, made a Guardian, got him to 75, and then like it was such a mess, like trying to figure out how to, without the UI part, just trying to figure out what was available, what wasn't, what were the passives.
Right.
That I never really got much of anywhere on that one. But this one, because it has a little bit of a UI now, and I don't think it's a finalized one. I think it's
a work in progress.
It's a work in progress for sure. But at least it tells you, okay, at this level you get this ability, or you get to choose. Like usually if you get an ability, then like the next one up, you'll actually get to choose between like 3 ways to improve that ability, which is kind of cool. That's pretty neat. It also on the other side shows passives. So as you're leveling up, you're also getting passives. And then a couple of the choices are kind of like, I think people are going to consider the important ones in that there's certain abilities that are in the game now that you have, but in the new version, you're going to be basically choosing between them. So not every sniper, or at least not every marksman sniper, is going to have, for instance, the single person stun. So that's not, and right now all of them do. But under the new thing, like you can choose the single target stun, or you can choose an improvement to snipe, which is what I ended up doing. Basically increases its crit damage and also makes it a healing debuff for 10 seconds. I thought that sounded interesting, so I decided to test that out. And then I can't remember what the third one is. So you can sometimes it's like that where you actually are choosing a new ability or maybe a passive. So mine was a passive, but I could have chosen an extra ability, the single target stun. And similarly, there are other options where you can either get a passive or that you can actually get an ability. The other one I think people are going to find to be very important or really different from how it is now, if they keep it, this is test server stuff, is you can either do, and I can't, hololocate, I think it is. It's the one where you put down a little beacon and then you can zip back to the beacon. There's that one. Or you can choose orbital strike. This is in marksman. I think one of the other variations, they always get orbital strike. But in marksman, it's hololocator or orbital strike or the defensive screen, like the AoE defensive screen around the sniper and the party. The bubble. And of course, snipers have all of those abilities, right now. So, well, pretty much anyway. So I think I think those last two are going to be the important ones, because to me, like the hololocate thing is like, I hardly ever use it. And I'm sure it has its uses. I'm sure there's maybe certain operation fights, or you can get clever with it in certain arenas and PvP matches and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's like, I don't know that it gets that much use, at least in my experience.
To use it all the time, and it's relatively new, so.
Right. It also has very little, movement is obviously very important, but it has very little combat. Like when you transfer there's been utilities in the game where if you when you do the hololocate, the AoE kind of explodes and does damage, stuff like that, but that's not really a thing in the game, at least the way it described it. So I didn't dig it. I took actually the orbital strike, because it's like I wanted to see if it was the same, and it looks the same, at least right now in the game, as it does live. The whole cast, pause, and then boom, 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 and the weak ones get stunned and all that stuff. Good stuff.
Did it seem more powerful like it used to be back in the day? The orbital strike.
The orbital strike felt about the same, I would say. Okay. I think partly
it used to melt.
Yeah, and it does pretty good damage, and the fact that it's knocking them up if they're weak, if they're not at least like the strongs, then is always really nice.
Yeah.
If the spec felt pretty good. I chose some of the passives, and I also had the tactical that sort of added to the AoE, which I thought would actually help with the dailies. And yet I was still it still felt like a pretty difficult. I was fighting strongs, silvers as we sometimes call them. And they felt about as hard to get down as almost like a gold on live. It was definitely I felt a little underpowered. And like I said, how much is that? How much is the gear? How much is that the companion who's not leveled? And how much is actually the changes to the game? I don't know. Right. But it was definitely harder. I died a few times too, for sure.
Whoa.
Yeah. Just in just doing daily stuff, which felt kind of bad, but whatever.
Level 1 companion, that's gotta be a little rough.
Yeah, well, I actually put my companion on tank, and it worked okay-ish. but she was still pretty squishy. And I found that I did have a bunch of presence points, like whatever presence I had got at some point, merged over to the test server version of my legacy. And I have like a bunch of, she didn't have any influence, but she had some presence, so she should have been reasonably tough as a tank, and yet she was dying, and then I died. So eventually I put her on heals, and then she was able to keep both of us up. But it was a little weird to kind of see that happening just in regular day-to-day sort of daily area sort of stuff. So a little weird.
Yeah, on that spec, I do the same thing. Put them on tank, have them go get the group together, and then AoE them down.
Yeah. So it felt very snipery in terms of the rotation. And as far as the other abilities being, different or missing in some cases, sometimes it felt a little weird, but for the most part, it's like I don't necessarily notice it for this sort of stuff. Like for dailies, like should you really be, having to use Imperial Mandate and other sort of like high-end utilities like all the time when you're just out doing dailies, so I didn't like necessarily miss my single target stun, although it would have been nice to have it a few times. Maybe I would have survived a couple of those fights. But but at least in terms of the regular rotation, it felt pretty much the same. So it was an interesting experience for me. I tend to have to kind of push myself to do test server stuff. Like I don't naturally gravitate towards it. I have to sort of like push myself to do it. And in this case, I wanted to do it in large part because I know we're going to be doing the show and I wanted to actually learn it. I didn't run into too many like big weird bugs or anything. One interesting thing that I thought was very honest with them, like when you're looking at the passives and stuff, a couple of them actually said this is a work in progress. It may be bugged, stuff like that. So, and that happened a couple times up the tree, which I thought was awesome. Good that they're like giving us warnings.
Yeah.
Because that way you can try it and see if it's buggy if you want to, or you just kind of avoid it and try something else, as your sort of personality just dictates. Sorry, go ahead.
If you're, I mean, that's a great idea because, you take that ability and then it doesn't work and you're trying to test it.
Right.
You're just going to be like,
and you can put in a bug report.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Right. That's good. That's nice of them to do.
Yeah, I only had one serious bug, and I did put a bug report in about it. And I don't know if it's because it could have been from several things. It might have been the new UI about the abilities, and it might have been about the way that they make you 1 to 75, and then when you get the Ondron daily, you're automatically given the ability to mount mount vehicles.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I had a couple of vehicles unlocked, but they weren't showing up anywhere. Like there's no way to actually mount up. And so for a while I was actually running around. And then I finally thought to myself, well, maybe if I log out and log in, they'll show up. And then they actually did. So I actually closed the client completely, loaded back into the test server, and then they did show up. It was in the new UI that shows your ability choices, but then there's a different tab that actually shows your abilities. There's some general ones like quick travel, fleet pass, all that stuff. There's one specifically for your combat style, and then there wasn't, because I had checked it multiple times, but there is a third one called vehicles, and the vehicles one showed up once I closed the client and opened it back up. And again, nice. I don't know if it's because like this UI is still being worked on and or is completely temporary, because I don't think anyone knows for sure whether this is like a template for how they want it to look in the game eventually, and they're just going to refine it a bit, or if there's going to be something completely different. Yeah,
who knows?
It's hard to say. I'm guessing that it'll be at least somewhat reasonably similar, but who knows? And anyway, if that happens to you, and if you're on the test server and like you can't find your vehicles and you just started a character, give that a try. Just close it. And
tip of the week.
Yeah, I guess that's the tip of the week. Which actually, yeah. So we'll get to that in a sec. Let's see. Yeah, and I think that's about it. So yeah, the test server was interesting, and it was way more fun than before, because I was really frustrated with the Jedi Sentinel one when I couldn't figure out like where the abilities were and how the passives were working and stuff. This time felt a lot better. Actually was able to get there. It still took a while. Like it still took me a while to actually get everything done, but it was, once I got into it, it's like, okay, we can actually make this work.
Muscle memory kicks in.
Right. Right. So, yes. So that's that. Well, speaking of the tip of the week, yeah, we'll make that the tip of the week. If you do have a tip of the week, send your tip to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show, and you can win a Tonfon or MA3R droid pet code or the new M2B9 droid code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided ultimate pack. Mm-hmm. And that'll bring us to the Mind Trap. And so what we decided to do was to check in on Galactic Season 1. We did a check-in a few weeks after it had started. This was back in June. I actually did put in the show notes the old version. The old version, we had... The numbers were slightly different because it was so early that I figured I wasn't just going to break it into 25, 50, 75, 100, because I didn't think that would be a very useful way to do it. It was pretty early on. I did it 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, and then 31 to 100. And even then, 31 to 100 only had 21.8% of the vote. This is the old one. 0 to 10 was almost half, so almost half people hadn't done anything with Galactic Seasons. 11 to 20 was 17.6, and 21 to 30 was 13.6. In this go-round, I actually did do 0 to 25, 26 to 50, 51 to 75, and 76 to 100, because I figured, well, this is the time to kind of like make it more like that. And we got a pretty good amount of votes, 513 votes, pretty good. So thank you everyone who retweeted. And the winner was 76 to 100. It got 45.6% of the votes, so closing in on half of the people have actually gotten to the last quartile or finished Galactic Season 1. I actually voted for 51 to 75, but then when I logged in, I found out I was actually already at like 79, so I kind of... But, you know, that's the thing about, you know, statisticians will tell you all the time, you know, people... Self-reporting is not always super accurate. So I put 51 to 75, but I should have put 76 to 100. Anyway, but... that was only 8.6% of the vote. 26 to 50, a little bit better, 11.5%. But as understandably, the other one is 0 to 25 with over a third of the vote, 34.3%. So basically, you have this dichotomy where either you've pretty much finished it, or at least you're on track to finishing it. 76 to 100, that's almost half of it, and just over a third basically either don't care, haven't been playing, or have been playing in a way that kind of tends to ignore or avoid Galactic Seasons, and that's about a third of it. With a chunk, you know, a reasonable chunk if you put it together, about 20% of the people sort of working their way through, maybe lagging a little behind, but, you know, actively, apparently in some way, you know, actively in some ways working on it, just not, you know, not along maybe as far as they might like to be.
Or they just kind of accidentally got, you know, a couple points. Right.
Well, yeah, if you are logging in and actually accepting your and you're subscribed, you get a fair amount of Galactic Seasons points once a week, and that'll actually get you along pretty reasonably, even if you don't do anything else. But yeah, and some people, you know, it's like Swotarista was like getting 69 for my stronghold. And then she's hoping that next season the token point shifts a level so she can stop saying that. Yeah, and then someone's like, and then Jedi Zen 100 on main server, 75 on other 4 servers. Wow, is it possible to love GSF and PvP too much? There's someone who's got to be using the level 10 trick.
Yeah, right?
Right. Yep. Let's see. Some people completing the 100 line is dull but irresistible. So they like the rewards, but they didn't exactly like the grind. That was Graham. Let's see. So Alf Coates put in all 3 servers completed a month ago. So yeah, some people are just really good at grinding, man. That's amazing.
That's part of, you know, an MMO. Especially if you're an old school MMOer where grinding was the game.
Wow.
You know, you kind of have that mentality.
Yeah, Starry Saber in chat is saying, yep, 100 on 3 servers, 50 on a 4th for Galactic Seasons, and was using the level 10 trick. Awesome.
Starry Saber's a machine.
Grady Rumfeld said, looking at the results, they're clearly casual players and hardcore players, which I think you can put it that way. Although I think it's also a question of, like, are you into Galactic Seasons or not? Like, do you find it rewarding or not? Because, you know, that is the other way to sort of parse it. But right. I would agree, though, like, there are probably casual players who would love to be at rank 100, but just are too casual. Mm-hmm. And there's probably some hardcore players who play the hell out of the game, but because they kind of they just fixate on one thing, maybe they're just operation people, and so they get a few operation points once in a while, but they're not really progressing through it they just don't mind.
I'll tell you what, Chill, that level 10 trick, I think, is what got me to 100.
Oh, nice.
For instance, I don't think that I would have been as into doing it as I would if I didn't have that choice.
Right.
So that was.
It definitely makes it easier. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I find, like, if I'm like just not in a mood to do anything PvP or even PvP adjacent, like Galactic Seasons, I just use my level 10 trick and then I just re-roll away from it towards Capital World or Home Worlds and just do a little bit there.
And that's kind of, I find it's I always like it as like a little warm up.
Yeah.
You know, I sit down to play. All right, I'm gonna run a couple dailies real quick, get the blood flowing, and then go about it. But
yeah, and I do think that it's basically the end of September, and we should probably do like a final check-in.
Yeah,
to see how people did at the end of the season.
I heard. Now I'm not remembering the date. But anyway, never mind.
All
move
right.
along.
Yep, move along. So that'll bring us to the holo feed. And there was an interview with Chris Schmidt on Escape Podcast 393 with Max the Gray and AIE SEMA. They pre-recorded it and then played it on a live stream. They do stream at twitch.tv/New Overlords. Very nice people. Yeah. Good content. Please do check them out. Yeah. And so they did have, they had Chris Schmidt on. He's the game design director, and the focus for the interview was combat styles. Some of it is sort of like, is now kind of old news because they've let us know, like, we're going to do Operative and Sniper coming soon to the test server. Well, that is now in fact out. He did say that this might possibly allow new combat styles, but that would have to be in the future. But still, the idea that could happen is really exciting, because maybe they'll come up with an idea for one that feels different enough that they feel like it could be included.
That would be great.
Yeah, he did confirm that the loadouts, which is going to be those buttons that's going to let you change your combat styles and change what buttons are on your bar and stuff like that. It's also going to include outfits. So when you do change the loadout, it's going to change your outfit, and which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that'll give you another extra couple little spots in your legacy bank.
I suppose so, yeah.
Every little tiny bit I can get, I call it a win.
Right, and I think something I was thinking of at the time, I can't remember if it ever came up. I think it was just in my head, but like if you're an RPer, and because right now, like Outfitter, its one big flaw is that you can't change the weapons. But assuming that the gear changes and the weapon changes with the loadouts, which it should, this is now a way to actually have an outfitter that actually changes your weapons too, by just replacing it with your loadout, and just changing between loadouts instead. Anyway, it's just a thought I had. Cool. So yeah, they're trying to figure out all the little details on loadouts and when you can change, because they're trying to decide about like edge cases. Like, generally speaking, they're talking about not making you allowed to change during an instance, but there's certain instances where it wouldn't really matter. Like, technically your stronghold is an instance, but you should be able to swap between, at least I feel you should be able to swap between loadouts in your own Stronghold. But on the other hand, like Warzone is definitely an instance as well, and they may not want you to be able to change during Warzones, potentially, especially during like ranked Warzones, for instance. Maybe they would feel that would be too much of an advantage for certain players. I don't know. So they're looking at those sort of cases and trying to decide when they're going to keep it unavailable and when they're going to actually make it available.
It's interesting, you've been playing the space PvP, and you can choose your ship before you're
every time you die.
Each time.
Right.
I wonder if they're going to do something like that for PvP.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't said anything, and then they're saying that you can't change it in an instance, but
right. So, but maybe they'll allow it, and then presumably the only restriction then would be like if you're in combat, because I'm sure you won't be allowed to change it in combat.
Right.
Like, and that's it's a cache, just not going to work.
A credit sink too. I'm sure it would cost a lot.
To a degree, yeah. Interestingly, as of now in the design, he said that it's looking like there's only going to be 2 combat styles per character, which is interesting because I would have assumed that maybe a few more, or at least would have been unlockable, even if it wasn't available to you right away. Like maybe 2 would be the default if you're a subscriber, but then you could unlock more. But apparently it's going to be looking like just 2 combat styles per character. However, that doesn't necessarily mean only 2 loadouts. So
right,
it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. But yeah,
because it would be nice to have the Holy Trinity available
on one character.
Every character.
Yeah, that would be very cool. The Legacy, let's see, so the dark side. Right. So the one thing that they have talked about is if you are a Jedi, but you want to use the Sith abilities or vice versa, then you'll have to get, you have to become a little darker, and then you can actually gain those abilities. One thing he said, though, is because this is going to be a legacy-wide unlock when it unlocks, and it's going to be sort of like based on characters that have already, gotten to like Dark 5 and stuff like that, legacy players like you and me that have a lot of dark and light side characters are basically never going to see that unlock, that lock. It's always going to be unlocked to us, basically. So that which kind of makes sense, because
it makes sense.
Yeah, but if you're a newer player and it's like they want you to, if you're a very new player, they want you to have like the Jedi experience for a while before you make them a dark side Sith Jedi,
which is cool,
or vice versa. Which is, so that's fine.
I mean, that's kind of like the heroic moment. You once you unlock the Sith, you do get the Sith lightning, which is, that's pretty cool. I like the idea of having to unlock it, though. It
would be kind of fun,
feel a little,
a little more,
yeah.
But I guess what you do then is, you just do it yourself. It's like, okay, I'm only allowed to go dark side when like maybe this character has gotten to like dark 3 or something.
Right.
Whatever you want to set it at. Anyway, he did confirm, and the test server pretty much, I didn't mention this, but the test server pretty much confirmed this too, because like you could buy the different armor sets. Like I bought the one that, the entrenched defense or whatever it's called that I actually do use on marksman. But it doesn't actually work. It doesn't actually do anything. And he did confirm that current set bonuses will not work at 80. And there's a bunch of reasons why. Like, some of them are going to be changed. Some of them will be folded into...
Right.
Some of the little bonuses are actually going to be now part of the combat styles. So that they're not even going to really be a set bonus. They're going to be part of your combat style. Others are going to be using abilities that are phased out or merged or changed or whatever. Tacticals, kind of the same thing. A few might still exist. Others won't. Some will be folded into the combat styles. So yeah, that's all going to be... We're just going to have to keep an eye on that. He really couldn't talk about too much about the gearing. Like, when we got to 75, the leveling was pretty quick, but then the gear grind, especially for that first character, was quite a bit longer. But he couldn't really talk about it too much. So there you go. And he also, afterwards, he put a little message out, which was really cool. Chris Schmidt said, I recently did an interview with Max and Seema, the content creators behind SWTOR Escape podcast, about combat styles. And then they talked about it. So
Very cool.
Yeah, very nice.
What a good get.
Yeah, that was and a really nice time to do it too, because this is just when like, combat styles is starting to show up on the PTS and so on, and everyone has questions about it. So really well done, guys, and we really appreciate that. And and good interview, Chris, too. All right, so then we also have from David Stats Galactic Season 2 updates. They put a little post out about a little over a week ago, I believe it was. Yeah, it was over a week ago. So I think it was shortly after our last show. And he writes, I wanted to take an opportunity to sit down and chat about some of the systemic changes we are moving toward with Galactic Season 2. You've all provided a ton of great feedback, both from original PTS, but also throughout this first season. The feedback has helped us continue to shape and refine how Galactic Seasons looks and feels, and I'd like to share that with you here before the next season begins with the launch of Legacy of the Sith. So let's dive in. Moving priority objectives onto their own tab, which is nice, because right now it's kind of mixed into the Conquest tab, and you
have to go through something to get to the thing you want, and then prop it up. With Season 2, we'll be moving the priority objectives out of the greater Conquest objectives list and putting them into their own tab within the Conquest window. This is one of the largest points of feedback provided throughout the original Galactic Seasons BTS, and we're excited to get the adjustment for Season 2. So apparently, which makes sense. I mean, I'm sure people were, even during the early pre-season testing, saying, can we please have this separate so we can actually find it fast? When opening the Conquest window, you'll see two tabs, one for Conquest objectives, where players will be able to see the list of priority objectives they have. Hang on a second, I want to check something here. There we go. One for Conquest objectives and a second one for priority objectives. By clicking on the priority objectives window, they'll be able to see the list of priority objectives they have available, which and how many they have completed, and which and how many they will still be able to complete. Now, there's going to be some really major changes to priority objectives that he talks about here, and unfortunately, say goodbye to the level 10 character trick, which I was so proud of. Yes, it was probably my favorite tip that I ever put on our tip of the week ever. Yeah, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from it. A lot of people are using that, and it sort of made the rounds too. Outside of our little OotiniCast area, other people all over are using it. It was a great one.
And it worked well this season, but it ain't lasting for next season. So here we go.
Level 10.
Yeah. Changes to priority objectives. So the daily emphasis is shifting to a weekly emphasis. So with Season 1, there's a strong emphasis on daily participation. This is evident in both the feel of the season as well as the Season 1 point allocation as shown below. The percent of total Galactic Season points, Season 1. Logins for subs, 11%, 8% for free and preferred. Weekly, 32% sub and 33% free preferred, and daily, 57% sub, 58% free and preferred. So in other words, over half, whether you are subbed or not, over half, and closing in on 60%, so closing in on 3/5 of the points were all based on daily stuff that you were doing, not on weekly and not on logins. For Season 2, we're flipping this around to focus on a week-to-week emphasis. As such, Season 2 will change from 2 dailies and 2 weeklies to 1 daily and 10 weeklies. So looking back at the percent of total Galactic Season points allocation, this is where it ends up. The login will be 9%. We'll just stick with the sub because it's getting too many numbers. Login will be around 9% for subs, 74% for subs for the weekly, and then daily 16% for subs. So almost 3/4 on the weekly, about 10% for the logins, and about 15% for the dailies. So our goals with this philosophy change is to ease the stress of daily participation and the feeling of missing out if you simply can't log in for that specific day or series of days. More closely align with the login reward philosophy of at your own pace, which I understand, and provide all players more time to plan their Galactic Seasons week, both for themselves and their friends. Yay. And interestingly, the rerolls are also going away, which is yet another reason why the level 10 character trick is going to go away as well. Priority objectives are no longer randomized, but this is the other reason. There's no longer randomized and there's no reroll. And when you have those two together, there's really no reason to have a level 10 character log on. So priority objectives no longer randomized. By moving off the day-to-day and into the week-to-week philosophy for Galactic Seasons, we're also removing the randomized granting of priority objectives. All players will be given the same 10 weekly priority objectives for the week, which will change from week to week. We hope this provides a clearer map for players to plan out their week and when they want to attack each priority objective, PO, and how, with or without friends.
That's the key right there. With or without friends. Being able, I mean, playing an MMO, and this is, kind of hypocritical because I play alone a lot, but I like the option of having friends there and being able to plan and do galactic seasons with your friends. Yay. Yay. That's great.
Right. So choose any week 7 weekly structure. To give a larger net of flexibility in priority objective options, players will only need to complete 7 out of the 10 weekly priority objectives. Once a player has completed their chosen 7 weekly priority objectives, the other 3 will be locked out for the remainder of the week. So we want to provide the players a way to earn as many galactic season points as possible each week without being able to participate in objectives they find. While being able to participate in the objectives they find the most appealing. In other words, they don't want to people to feel obliged to do all 10, which will be nice. Although 7 out of 10 is still pretty high.
Yeah, that's
it's like,
a lot. Yeah.
You still got to pick your favorite 7 out of 10. It's like, okay. There might be some weeks when it's like, maybe 7 is more than I'm going to actually do. We'll see.
It's going to be interesting, yeah.
Daily priority objective is simply to earn conquest, which is cool. There will only be one daily priority objective, and it will simply consist of earn personal conquest experience. And our goal is to give players the flexibility to continue playing Star Wars: The Old Republic however they wish on a day-to-day basis while still making progress in the season. So it doesn't say how much personal conquest experience, if it's like enough, for one person to get the to get the weekly conquest, objective, which is 50,000. I don't know if it's that or some other number.
Who knows?
It could be as low as 10,000, as for all I know, but maybe It is 50,000. If it is 50,000, that basically says if you're going to do it solo, that means you're basically going to go and do a daily area somewhere, and usually that'll get you pretty close to 50,000. And if it doesn't, you can look for something else to do, or maybe give your gifts or do those other sort of weird daily ones and put it over the edge that way. In a later post, we'll go into a few more details as to what Season 2 priority objectives look like, and they actually did follow up. So we're going to do that too here real quick. Let's see. Well, this sort of a question and answer of what people were asking when they came out with that first post. Will this change the pace at which players can progress through the season? Generally speaking, no. It's our intention to keep roughly the same cadence as Season 1. Question, will this change eliminate the reroll function? A, yes. Answer, yes. The reroll function will not be present in Season 2. And question, will Season 2 be available on the PTS prior to launch? And answer, yes. They do intend to have some version of Season 2 available for testing, but in a later PTS phase. And there we go. Sense. And then the following information is subject to change, but he's basically giving some examples. So, as with Season 1, the solo-oriented weekly priority objectives can be completed in a shorter amount of time and/or can be done solo. Multiplayer-oriented weekly priority objectives will take longer to complete and/or require multiplayer content to do so. Subscriber priority objectives are ones which will require content only subscribers and in some cases preferred players have access to, and will mix between content which can be solo and which are multiplayer oriented. So, okay. What do we think about that? So 6 solo-oriented objectives, 3 multiplayer, and 1 subscriber is also what they say. So that'll be interesting to see how that works, but they do have a week 1 example, week 2 example, and they're very similar, actually. There's like a lot of them that are exactly the same. But anyway, week 1 example, complete any 7 of the following 10. March across the galaxy, earn personal conquest points across your legacy. It doesn't say how many.
Right.
Utilizing the shadow, defeat enemies across the galaxy with Fen Zale as your active companion. I assume that's going to be the new Season 2 companion.
Interesting.
Yeah, this will do nicely. Affect enemies with destructible pipes, tanks, canisters, and capacitors found throughout the galaxy. That's fun.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and just affect. You don't have to actually kill them with it or anything like that, which would be a lot harder, actually, because most of those things aren't really designed to kill them. The core word worlds complete repeatable exploration or bonus missions while defeating enemies on Alderaan, Balmora, Corellia, Manon, Meksha, and Onderon. So that's the kind that's going to change. You can see core word, and then it's probably going to be Hutt and whatever.
Right.
Empire, Seat of the Empire, and all that. Ace of the Armada. Board your personal ship and complete space missions.
Yeah,
and you can earn bonus progress for the heroic mission. So on-rail space missions are going to be part of Season 2. Interesting, because they're not really a thing right now.
I have wanted that for so long, and that's something that I've suggested. I put a ticket in and was like, hey, why don't you guys put this in? It's a great part of the game.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm happy to say that although I did the heck out of it back in the day, it's now been a while, and I've touched on it a few times, here and there, but it's not something I regularly get to, and it'll be fun to get back to it. It really will.
Yeah.
Supplying the war effort. Assemble materials into the following war supplies, so infantry supply kits. Right. You've seen that sort of thing in the Conquest. Holocrons of strategy, and then assemble an invasion force. A Galaxy at War. Complete flashpoints. Pretty simple, and earn bonus progress for completing certain ones, which is kind of cool. Nice. Earn additional bonus progress for defeating their bonus bosses. So that's also interesting.
Really cool.
Yeah, because
I like that a lot.
Yeah, especially since a lot of times people love to skip bonus bosses.
Oh yeah.
Clashing in the Stars. Complete Galactic Starfighter matches while earning medals. Heading the Frontline. Complete unranked Warzone matches while earning medals. I'm not sure about the earning medals, how many you're supposed to get or whatever. Do you get extra progress for the bonus, for the medals as well? I don't know. It's not going into that kind of detail. And then finally, Profit and Plunder. Complete Chapter 13 Profit and Plunder of Knights of the Fallen Empire on Veteran or harder. Requires a subscription or access to Knights of the Fallen Empire.
I love it.
So there we go. Yeah. So a nice mix there. Now, you can't. There's no rerolls, so there's no real gaming this process, and this is pretty straightforward stuff. And you're gonna have to decide, does this work for you? If you're the kind of person who just likes one kind of content, then it's not going to be as good for you. If you really love the level 10 trick because you really love to do PvP, and that's how you're getting a lot of your daily and weekly seasons points, well, there's only going to be kind of a limited amount that you can get from that. You can probably do the daily just from PvP, because you get a fair amount of conquest stuff for doing PvP, and you can there's a lot of dailies that are conquest related for PvP as well. Then once the weekly is gone, you're gonna have to figure out if you're willing to do other stuff. Sorry, go ahead, Giddy.
I am really into the fact that they are delving into different parts of the game that seem to be untouched by Galactic Seasons or, the other parts of the game. And I love it. I love the idea of running specific chapters at veteran mode. Oh, if anyone out there has not done any of the chapters in veteran mode, check it out. It is a challenge, and it's really, really fun. Yeah. So I'm glad that's going to potentially have some people exploring different parts of the game that they haven't checked out.
Absolutely. I'd like to look at the week 2 example just to see how much it differs. Again, complete any 7 of the 10. March across the galaxy, earn personal conquest points across your legacy, so that one's the same, so that no difference there. Utilizing the shadow, defeat enemies across the galaxy with Fen Zale as your active companion, so that one's the same as well. Still got it. Defeat non-player enemies across the galaxy without the aid of your companions. No companion may be summoned for progression. This does not progress through Warzone's Galactic Starfighter, Flashpoints, or Operations. That's interesting.
I love that. That
I've done,
is great.
I've done characters like that before, and like no companion ones. Now it's a little tricky because the companion loves to come back. Like if you exit an instance or something, even if you've completely dismissed them, they love to come back. So you're gonna have to redismiss. But that's still kind of cool.
I wonder if you put them on passive, if that's going to count.
I don't
like maybe
think
their
so.
activity or something is what causes it to.
It says no companion may be summoned, so I'm assuming no. I'm assuming that means not just not passive, but actually not out at all. Like, yeah.
Well, maybe they'll have it fixed so they won't come out when you have them put away, which would be really, really, really great.
Yeah. Dealings in hut space. Complete repeatable exploration or bonus missions while defeating enemies on Makeb, Nar Shaddaa, Quesh, Voss, and Ossus, which is hut space. There you go. Cool. Liabilities of Nar Shaddaa. Track down and defeat the following high-profile targets on Nar Shaddaa. Kaden Takor Republic, Kalik Khan Republic, Kamon Zahor Empire, and Varys Logan Empire. Interesting. That's those weird ones, isn't it? Those are... If I remember correctly, are those the difficult ones? Like you almost have to have a group to beat them? Or is this like... I'd have to look those up. I don't recognize those guys. Or maybe they're new.
Sure.
Potentially they're new. I mean, who knows? GSI Valued Partner. Complete the mission weekly GSI Valued Partner Initiative. So doing the GSI missions.
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay. So basically back to, like macro binoculars and all that stuff. Yeah. And all the little droids and everything. Cartel Warbots. Defeat the Rogue Cartel Warbot World Boss on Quesh and Battle Droid R4GL World Boss on Nar Shaddaa. Cool. Wow, some of these are really interesting.
Really cool.
Stay on target. Earn offense and defense medals by capturing and defending satellites in Galactic Starfighter.
Nice.
It's very pretty specific. Cool. The tricky part is you can't queue for just that type. You're going to get what you get, and if it's if it's just the get the most kills version, there's no satellites to defend. But still, as someone who's been playing a lot of Galactic Starfighter recently, it actually sounds pretty fun. Yeah, I have you now. Fun. Defeat player enemies in unranked Warzone matches, so that's good. Nice. Quelling the uprising, complete uprisings. So that's another thing that's
very good.
Yeah, been in the game for quite a while and doesn't quite earn its due respect. I think. Earn bonus progress for completing Crimson Fang, Done and Dusted, or Fire Frost. So there'll be specific ones that people will get extras for that. And also earn additional bonus progress for completing them on harder difficulties. And that requires a subscription. That's pretty cool.
What if they were like, they're complete Kotfi and Kotet using only your fists.
All right, I've got Shrek ready. But he says that's not meant to be, all inclusive, but it demonstrates the general notion of what to expect. Interesting.
Those are really
they were very different from the first list, way more different than I would have just guessed. You know what I mean? Like if I was casually going to guess, I would say probably half of them would be, half or slightly over half would be basically identical, and then, a few ones with like different worlds and whatever. But those are actually quite different. There's basically 2 that are identical, and that's about it. Yeah,
that's really
surprisingly.
I like how specific they are.
Yeah, and and there's sometimes it's just earn medals doing Starfighter, but then it can be earn medals actually defending satellites in Starfighter. Interesting. Okay. And there we go. So what do you think overall? I mean, it's a little hard to wrap our heads around because we haven't actually seen it. We haven't actually experienced it yet. I mean,
I'm excited about it. I mean, if anything, it's something new.
Right.
So, and it's obvious that BioWare is down for tweaking stuff if we don't like it, especially as far as Galactic Seasons go. So I'm excited to see it. It really kind of reminds me of, older MMOs, where you get, you're like, okay, hey, you guys, let's get together and let's go do this, or this specific thing. Yeah. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I think this actually could be really fun. I'm gonna have to think about like how I'm gonna go at this, because like I have different, you know, kind of specific ways to play the game, and it's like,
yeah,
this is gonna definitely get me out of it in some ways, but in some other ways, you know, it'll be fun to kind of figure it out and like figure ways when, oh, maybe we go and we do GSI together or whatever.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So yeah,
I like it.
Okay.
I'm at the most, I'm extremely interested.
Right. And then there was a little thing about how to access the operative and sniper on PTS. We've kind of talked about this, and it is in the show notes if you want to, because they have links and stuff like that. There's different steps about how to get your character to the fleet, get them set level 75, get them their gear, and then get them vehicles and dailies and stuff like that. And then basically the feedback they're looking back is what makes this class unique to me, and do the abilities available make this experience feel like I am playing a sniper or operative. So that's kind of the sort of look and feel they're going for. They're not looking for final polish. This is still like trying to determine, like, you know, if we make the abilities this way and you have these sorts of choices, some of which will exclude abilities that are currently, you know, just automatically on a character in the game. Does it feel like a sniper? So, yeah. So definitely, you know, if you like to have a little hand in it, this is definitely the time to have your say. Because like,
act now,
they are literally asking us for our opinions. So there you go. And let's see, whatever. You'll be capped at 75, which is unfortunate, because they even show a little 80 and it's grayed out, you know, but of what choices you get. I think they were all passives from what I remember. There wasn't like another active ability you could choose, but character copy is still not available. So, you know, I just made a character. Set bonuses are not enabled, as we talked about. Most ability mods are functional, but some will be marked as in development, to clarify that they may be in stages of development and not 100% functional. And as the ability tree is a work in progress, please note that some icons are duplicated. No worries. Yeah. So yeah, definitely go check it out if you're at all interested in test server, or in, you know, having your word, like, especially if you're very invested in like one class. This is definitely a good time to like wait for, you know, as soon as they put out that class on the server, or even the mirror one, you know, go in and be a part of it. Yeah. Master Loot change is now in the game. Well, 6.3, I haven't actually mentioned this yet, but we did actually have 6.3.2 update today, and for some reason it took me quite a long time. Like, I was kind of surprised that this was as big an update in terms of the amount of time it took as it was. How about for you, Kitty? Did it seem to take a long time for you?
I got sidetracked by trying to put a tire on my bicycle. Way more of a pain in the butt than I thought it was going to be, but
right.
So I didn't notice. I was downstairs cussing at inanimate objects.
Well, I had the opposite problem. I was like sitting down to do my stream, and then I realized, oh, I haven't updated yet, and so I was literally like watching it and like twiddling my thumbs, so to speak, because I was like, I have limited time before I got to get ready for OotiniCast, so I have very little time to play today. So please, I want to play. So I was like basically hovering my computer. So it was a very different. Maybe it just felt longer because I was like basically like staring the screen down. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, 6.3.2, one of the bigger changes, and it really is like, as you know, like the way they've changed things. Like if it goes from 6.3 to 6.4, that means there's story. If there's not story. But there can be some pretty major changes. But still, 6.3.1 to 6.3.2, you could expect that this is more of like a bug fix and sort of that sort of patch. And there are a few.
Got to go potty.
Okay,
gotta go.
You
potty.
do that.
Right back.
I think I'll go ahead and keep talking a little bit though, because there's quite a few little changes here. So basically, master looting is now gone. Currently, SWTOR has a master loot option, which allows the party leader to choose who receives each gear piece, and a group loot option where gear must be rolled on by members of the party, and the highest roll wins. This has led to unwanted friction during the loot process, so we're working to build an efficient process that removes this type of negative player experience and potentially harmful behaviors. Yeah, in order to achieve this, we'll be removing the master loot system to bring us closer to what we are calling the personal loot system. This means that gear that you get will go directly into your inventory. No more rolling, no more choosing who wins items. Part of our modernization efforts include improving the loot experience for all players. We know there are groups who use the master loot system to distribute gear. We want to assure you that with these changes, gear will still be tradable within your group for 2 hours, and chat logs will still record what gear was given to whom. They actually wrote that kind of weird, but I'm changing that to how I think it should be phrased, because I'm an English major and I'm going to do that. So basically, Kitty, yeah. So master loot's going away. Loot will go directly into inventory. No more rolling, no more choosing. However, because there are groups who do trade gear and stuff like that, stuff that you get will be tradable within your group for 2 hours, and the chat logs will still record what gear was given to whom.
Excellent.
Yep. And so we took a first step towards personal loot during the Onslaught expansion, where gear was given based on your discipline. This has worked well, promoted a healthy player experience, and we want to continue building on that system. And then 6.3.2 is now out. So some of the questions. This only affects gear. What about everything else, like decorations, mounts, pets, crafting materials, and so on, which can drop from content? Will that still be decided via roll? And they said, no, this will affect everything. Does this mean that loot is completely distributed randomly and need to be traded thereafter? For example, the nightmare mounts, like Wings of the Architect, will go directly to one player's inventory and then need to be traded thereafter. That is correct. So this is a very stringent system. This is not only for loot bosses. Boss loot drops at the end of the boss fight and stuff like that. This is for all loot, basically. Which is fine as far as it goes. And I think in the case of Jar Jar Joyrides and stuff like that, whenever a decoration drops, we generally have a rule. Well, no, not generally. We have a rule where if you don't have it, you may need on it. As if it's a decoration. If you don't, you're supposed to only greed on it, or you can pass, of course.
Right.
And this is going to be a little trickier, because now it's just going to bloop, go right into someone's inventory. And I guess we're just going to, we're a very friendly bunch of folks, and I'm sure it won't be very difficult for people to then look at it and say, oh, it's in my inventory, hover it and see if they have it or not. Because usually if you hover it, it'll tell you whether you've got the 0 of 100 or whatever, or 0 of 9,999 in some cases. And then they can say, oh, well, I have 0, so I'm just going to take it. Or if not, maybe, we roll for it or whatever. I guess we'll have to figure out how we're going to deal with that.
You can always /roll.
Right. But we'll have to do a /roll or something like it.
A lot of, especially in Jar Jar, we're all like, take it. Here, you're new, take it.
Right. And I do need on things if I'm 0 of 100, but and then I just pass. Even if I only have 1 and I would love to have more than 1, nope.
Yeah, so do I.
I just do. I don't pass. I greed, because if everyone greeds, then I might get it. But whatever, it's not a big deal. Anyway, what happens in case the inventory of the player who is supposed to get something but their inventory is full? It's the same as the current system. It will stay lootable, and the player will have to clear their inventory in order to loot it. So there you go. So just make sure that before an operation, you have a bit of room in your inventory.
Yeah.
What about unique items like Crest of the Dread Master? We'll be adjusting the loot system so that unique items can only be given to members of the party that don't already have it. If all members of the party have the unique item, it will not drop. So there's certain items that you can't have more than one of. So
interesting.
And that's an example. So they're actually they're definitely doing a lot of work behind the scenes to do this, because that's a lot of work to do to find out all these weird edge cases and then have to come up with a different system for all of them.
Right.
What about decos which currently cannot be traded after someone receives it, like Duxon decorations or one of the Isaac's decorations? We are investigating these decorations to ensure they have the 2-hour tradable loot timer. This will not be in 6.3.2, but we are looking to adjust it in a future patch. So for a little while, unfortunately, some of those decos will not be tradable, but they are looking to make it so in the future. So there you go.
Zoinks.
Yeah. 6.3.2, that the master loot was kind of the big deal. There's some other things though. One thing that I think is kind of nice, missions available on the ship console, which is basically, this is what we always call the on-rail space missions, as to distinguish it a little bit more from Galactic Starfighter, are now presented in the correct story order, which is nice because if I do remember the last few times that I have gone back and done these old style space missions, it was a little tricky to figure out, like, okay, which one should I be doing based on my gear? Because like if you only have like level 1 gear or no gear at all, there's really a kind of a limited subset that you can actually use. And if you accidentally click one that's meant for like a higher level, it's kind of a pain in the butt because you're probably not going to make it.
Excuse me, especially at level 50. Once you hit level 50, that's kind of the level cap for the on-rail space. And there are some real nasty missions that become available, which you need the best of the best gear to even survive.
Yeah, the heroic ones are brutal.
Brutal.
Yep. Event currencies is not correctly translated in German. I love when stuff like that happens. It's like, it just boggles my mind, like how many details are in MMOs and like how many things they have to take care of. Because like every time you think of something that you have to take care of, if it involves a word on the screen, you have to think about translation into French and German in the case of SWTOR. So the following currencies now correctly appear in the event currencies category: Dantooine Surveyor's Notes, completed bounty contracts, Grey Helix components, and Rakghoul DNA canisters. So I haven't actually checked on that, but it'll be interesting to see, because I have a bunch of like some of these in my storage, like regular storage, and it'll be interesting to see if it just goes into the event currencies tab in the inventory.
Right, because when that first started, you would have to mail those, especially, I know specifically it was the bounty contract. You had to mail it to another one of your characters, and then it would go into the currency.
That's right. That was an interesting workaround. Very clever. It's amazing how people come up with these things.
Yeah, I mean the level 10 thing. Gamers are thorough.
And then this is a good one. Fixed an issue preventing players from looting tech fragments when near the currency cap. Because obviously you don't want people to lose out on tech fragments just because, you know, they are near the cap, but this would put them over the cap, and so you don't get any at all. That's, you know, obviously not the way to go. So good. I'm glad that one's in there. Let's see. See if there's anything that's a little bit more interesting. Altur Zok Adon's abilities, these are like the special ones. Targeting Matrix, Kolto Targeting Field, and Targeted Taunt now correctly increase the damage taken by the target. So that's good, because actually I haven't really tried him as a companion, but I wondered how that would work. And apparently if it wasn't actually increasing the damage taken by the target, it would make it really hard to test. So it's kind of cool that he actually has some slightly different abilities. It's very tricky because a long time ago they sort of merged all the abilities, so basically everyone has the same abilities. When they're a healer, everyone has the same one, with a very few rare exceptions. Like Zio has a slightly different heal that makes her a little better as a healer. Treek got to keep some of her unique abilities,
which are gorgeous. Yeah,
they kind of got leveled out, but she got to at least keep the animations, and in one or two cases they actually are slightly different. And other than that, it's like hardly anything, you know, everyone kind of got leveled out. Again, a few exceptions aside, but yeah. Anyway, it's cool to see someone come back, and now they're actually trying to do that again, where companions can have slightly unique abilities.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Increase the number of available Hook and Republic and Imperial Guild flagships, so that'll be fun.
Ooh.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything that's, you know, a little more interesting. Penthouse doorways of the falling strongholds no longer disappear if the player moves too far away from them. And that's in Viken and Carrick Station. Let's see.
The Nixu is just yelling at me.
Really? Is she hungry or just being silly?
I don't know. I think he wants me to chase him.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we're almost done. We're getting pretty close to the end here.
It's okay. I just didn't know if you guys could hear it.
Yeah, and then there's just I'm passing over a lot of these. There's just a lot of bug fixes. There's a lot of bug fixes in 6.3.2, which is great.
I love it. Yeah. Good.
Let's see. Traumatizer Tactical. Let's see. Kneecapping ability now correctly. Okay, so Gunslinger Tactical's kneecapping ability now correctly accounts for the effects of Tech Det Cap Tactical when applied with Flourish Shot ability. So like again, this is still bug fix kind of stuff. And yeah, mission bug fixes, Warzone bug fixes. The Vanden Hutball Warzone is now correctly counting towards the completion of the Hutball PvP achievements, which is nice.
There you go.
And it's the same with the Void Star one. There's a correctly referencing Void Star instead of Hutball in German. There we go. I love that. But yeah, and I did notice I didn't mention it, I don't think on the show, but I actually did get into a Vanden Hutball Warzone, which they were turned off for a long time. I think we actually did mention it. There was like there was a patch a while ago, and they said it was available again. I think we did mention it, but I actually saw it, which was kind of cool. It's like, hey, there's the Vanden one, and I completely sucked at it because it's like, oh my god, I'm so bad at figuring out where to go on the Vanden one. It's a little more complex, like in terms of like ramps and jumping areas and stuff than some of the other ones, and because I haven't seen it very much at all, and certainly not recently, I was really bad at it. I was getting knocked down to the pit, and then like took me forever to get anywhere useful. Anyway. All right, and
Spirit of Vengeance, Flashpoint, Story Mode. Hida Cole's reinforcements are less dangerous. The types of enemies that join the battle have been changed, and she now calls for backup from only one sharpshooter at a time.
Oh,
I know that I'd heard that people were having issues with that, so that's good.
Well, yeah, it was usually 2 at least, right?
Yeah.
So that was nasty. Here's a good one, Nar Shaddaa Nightlife, because I did notice this one, but I never really talked about it. There was like there's this one where you're supposed to do a bunch of different missions, and it's like this sort of mission of missions, sort of one of those sort of deals. And the steps of the buy-in sell-out mission from Nar Shaddaa Nightlife are now mentioning what needs to be done to complete the steps, because I actually never got to complete that one, because there's one that it's you go there, you pick it up, and then the daily comes and you do it, and then you go back the next day and it's the same daily, and it's the same daily, and it's the same day. So one was done and all the other steps were not done. And I didn't know exactly what I needed to do. I assumed what I assumed initially was, okay, this is a way to get you back to the nightlife event over the course of the event, because I picked it up early in the event, and I assumed like the next week or something like that, it would rotate to another one, and then therefore, as long as I came back once in a while on the same character, I would get it all done. That's what I thought they were doing, but that apparently not, because they never changed. And I kind of gave up on it. Like, I didn't really think about it after a while. But yeah, it'll be nice to know exactly how you're actually supposed to do that darn thing. So
yeah, I actually didn't do any of those this year.
Yeah. Anyway, the daily. I actually did the daily multiple times. The one that I was able to get was actually really fast to do, so it was kind of cool. And yeah, so. And let's see, is there anything else? Because, God, there's a lot of them. All right, let's just move on. Cartel Market Edition. All the show notes, the 6.3.2 patch notes are in the show notes. And, of course, they are on SWTOR.com as well. And there's so many little ones we absolutely can't go through them all. Cartel Market Editions. This is just kind of fun. Steadfast Master Robes is now in the game. Yay! The gloves there is a bug in the gloves where the fingertips are supposed to be, it's supposed to be fingerless gloves, but it actually just blacks out your fingers. It looks like you dipped your fingertips in ink. That's on the preview, and so that's just a bug, and they know about it. Anyway, it's very, they clearly mean it to be Obi-Wan. At least that's how they're selling it with the, sort of
beard. Yeah,
the beard, the slightly reddish hair, and everything. Deck seems to feel it's more appropriate for Luke in Last Jedi, and that's cool too. But either way, it's all good. And you're saying it, and I've also heard from other people it dies very well.
Yeah, it dies really well.
Yeah, so that's really cool. Very nice. I really like. Actually, I did preview it a little bit. Which is how I actually knew about the little fingertip bug in the preview.
Right.
But the boots are really nice. I always like simple boots. There's not a lot of them in the game. And these are actually really nice. They're very simple with a little bit of like a fold down, like a pirate. You know how pirates have like a really big fold down on them on the leather boots. These have a fold down, but they're a little less aggressive than a pirate fold down is.
Right.
And it looks really nice. The belt is really cool. Yeah. Actually, the whole thing is just a really nice little set there.
I always think of the Errol Flynn boots. That's what whenever I see that stuff.
Yeah, like old style action movie boots. Yeah, swashbuckling boots. Frontline Scourge armor set. This one is it's very troopery, simple, which is kind of nice. I also like the fact that it looks like most of the armored parts are actually armored. There is some cloth showing underneath in here and there, but it's not one of those where like you have a bit of a chest plate and maybe a little bit on the hips, and then like most of your legs are just like cloth. Like a lot of the heavy armor is kind of like that, and it never feels quite right to me. I'd rather look like a walking tank, and this has more of that walking tank look, where you can see there is cloth underneath, as there probably would be in that sort of thing, but almost everything has actual armor plating over the top of it. Very cool. And also like the knees aren't really spiky or anything weird like that. Like there's no giant shoulder pads. The shoulders are nice and tight to the body. The knees don't go here, there, and everywhere. I really like it. The helmet's not really my style, but it's very troopery, and I'm sure a lot of people will like it. It has sort of that piloty kind with the little circular sort of tube things on the sides. It's a little Imperial piloty kind of.
I could see that.
Yeah. Do you like that one? This outfit?
I think that this one and the Kenobi one have all of the different pieces to it are really, really well done. I noticed when I was checking it out earlier that it's got some really cool, nice little details to it.
Right.
And hats off. They put some love into these outfits.
Yeah.
I noticed that the pants separate from the outfit are really they've got some really interesting kind of textures to them, which is
nice.
which is really, really great. And like what you were saying about the armor on the thighs, it doesn't look too overdone. It's really well done. I love that set.
Yeah, it really is a nice little heavy armor set. The picture is also shown with the Frontiersman's blaster rifle, which is like also new to the cartel market. Pretty straightforward. It's kind of nice older style. It actually looks like kind of older style. Like so once in a while, like SWTOR sort of dips into kind of not exactly steampunk, but sort of like SWTOR steampunk, which is sort of like like retro but techie at the same time. That's their sort of version of steampunk, and this is kind of along those lines. Where it looks like an older rifle in some ways, but it has definitely some little details that are high tech as well. It's perfectly fine. It's not maybe going to be my favorite in the game, but I definitely think people will find it will find its audience for sure.
Yeah, it's a replica of Cobb Vance from The Mandalorian.
Nice. Yeah, which makes sense because we're also getting the ceremonial Beskar spear, which is it doesn't say what weapon it's supposed to be for. I'm guessing double staff. I'm guessing if you're a double-bladed lightsaber type, you're probably going to be able to use it. Or electro staff type person, you can probably use it. It is not quite like the one in The Mandalorian, which is... The one in The Mandalorian is super basic. It is basically a Beskar pole that sharpens to a point at one end. I mean, it is really, really simple. This one is quite simple, especially for SWTOR, but not quite that simple. It has a little bit of a leather grippy thing in the middle, and it has an actual spearhead at the end. Not a very wide one, though. It's kind of narrow, and it's not much narrower not much wider, rather, than the actual Beskar, staff post, or whatever you want to say it is. Staff, handle, or whatever you want to call it. A couple of nice little details on there, too. There seems to be a blue item there. I'm guessing that's going to glow and maybe change color with your color crystal, but I have not tested that. I mean, this is fine.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're looking, for me, one of the nice things is like this gives you an actual like old style spear weapon, that you could actually have for like cosplay purposes.
I love it.
Regardless of Mandalorian, like if you want to actually have like a, sort of like an old style spear wielding character, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I think it looks great. And, of course, SWTOR is going to put their little flair on it to make it look a little different,
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
partly because they have to, like Disney's going to insist on it, but also they do like to do it too, and they do have their own like art style. They have and they have their own aesthetic as well, and this definitely fits nicely into that. I would say for sure as well. Yeah, there are a couple of new crystals, which interestingly, like I wouldn't have thought that these would make great looking crystals, but these actually look really cool.
Did you try them in game?
I have not. I've only seen pictures. Blue gray and advanced red gray crystals, and it has a nice little picture there with the same exact lightsaber, with the basic with no crystal in it, or default blue gray and then red gray. And the nice thing about it is because the gray's in the middle, it almost looks like the blade is slightly hollow. It almost looks like the blade is wrapping around nothingness or something. Something weird is going on. But it's a very cool look actually, and I could see this looking really good on a number of lightsabers. Although I've only seen these few pictures. I think but it's so weird because like lightsabers are actually actively putting out color, which means you can't. There's no such thing as brown light. Brown is a color that we see, but only because our eyes put certain things together and call it brown or make it brown. There's no such thing as brown light waves. And similarly, there's not really gray light waves either. Like, not really. It's all like mixed light, combinations, working with your eyes. It's all that sort of thing. So thinking that there's a lightsaber that is actually gray is kind of a weird concept. But because of the color wraparound, it actually ends up looking really, really slick, I think. I'm actually really happy with this.
I checked them out in game. I had no desire for these crystals when I saw them.
When you saw the word gray?
Yeah. And then I lit them up in game. Holy crap, they're gorgeous.
That's
they're
awesome.
Really, really, really pretty.
Yeah.
The blue is just I'm gonna buy them. But in fact, I almost pulled the trigger today.
Wow.
But I'm like, do I want the blue one? Do I want the red one? Do I want the blue one? Do I want the red one?
That is nice.
Yeah, but they're really cool. They really look good.
Yeah, there's also woodland green and yellow dye modules, and normally I wouldn't, maybe I wouldn't bother mentioning this, but I really like the pictures. They showed the Havoc Squad armor set, which is usually like black with white and red, and then the white and red parts kind of die away, and leaving the black parts, and so you have the woodland green, which is a very, very deep olive green. Yeah, forest green. I just think of it in my head as olive, but it's a very deep green. Like if your screen was darkened a little bit, you might just think, isn't that black? It's like that dark. So it's dark green and then sort of a nice medium yellow. But medium, I'd say maybe like slightly on like the not too bright side, which is great because it actually contrasts well with the very dark green. And in the case of the Havoc Squad armor set, there's a fair bit of like little black bits here and there that stay black no matter what.
Looks great.
And it looks good both ways. I kind of prefer the primary green one, which is the middle one. But they actually both look pretty and good. So I can see that being really, really nice for, different looks.
You're exactly right. If you would have said, "Hey, they got yellow, green, and green, yellow dyes," I would have been.
It's like,
but they look really good. They look really, really good.
There is a yellow and green dye in the game, and it's not because they're both really bright. It's like bright, kind of a medium bright green, and then a bright yellow, even brighter than this yellow. It tends to look kind of garish on a lot of things, and it has kind of like limited I find it has limited applications.
Yeah, it does.
There's also a Hired Guns Journey decoration bundle, which cool stuff. It's hard to know for me to tell exactly what's all there. There's definitely some there's like a weapons locker of some sort, and there's all that sort of thing. Anyway,
it looks like the Grogu channeling thing from Tython.
I guess that's what that meant to be. Yeah, the meditation rock thing. Yeah, it makes sense.
Then it looks like there's frog eggs in the container over there.
Oh, is that an egg thing? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was a Kolto thing, but I see the eggs now, and I know exactly what they're going for. So, yeah, again, this is Mandalorian stuff. Yep. There you go. Ooh. And there's like other little console-y looking things.
It too.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah. Which is, or on the whatever this thing, the Grogu channeling Tython thing, it has an animation to it. Sorry, nice. Brain over. Done.
All right, and there are some, and then there's some known bugs for 6.3.2. Nothing that looked too game breaking. The one thing that was interesting that I actually did see today is certain items were showing up that should just be bound to Legacy. And if they're bound to Legacy, you're never going to trade them anyway, except to other characters in your Legacy. So there should never be a bind timer on them. What's the point? So in this case, my character got some of the Jawa junk, and it had a bind timer on it, so I wasn't able to stack it with the other Jawa junk. And then I looked at it and I was like, why isn't that working? Oh, there's a bind timer on it. That's weird. Like, why is that there? And it's like, yeah, it would eventually go away, but kind of a pain in the butt, and it takes up a lot more inventory space. And actually, they now have done a little hotfix for it. So I haven't actually, that was right before the show. It was literally like less than an hour before the show. So hopefully that is working, as intended, or fixed as intended. But I haven't had a chance to personally check that out. I'm sure it's fine though. And finally, there's a YouTube video put out by SWTORista that I really have to mention because it is awesome. It's all 50 dances in SWTOR, and it's a YouTube video. And it is great. Yes, check it out. She does a really good job. She goes through all the dances, and when there is a different version for male and female, then she has those as well. So, male dance, female dance, that sort of thing. A lot of fun, and that way you can, not only is it just fun to go through, and she's also playing some of the Cantina music. But also that way, like if you've ever thought, well, I don't want to spend all the money in the world, but it'd be nice to have a couple of dances and maybe figure out which one actually would be that I actually like the dance for, the emoticon for, or whatever, the emote for. Sorry, wrong word. The emote for. This is a great way to do it. So the link to that is in the show notes, and of course she's also tweeted about it, so you can find it on her Twitter account at SWTORista on Twitter.
And I linked it in chat.
Yep. Thank you, Kitty. Appreciate that. And that's about it. Anything else, Kitty? Is there anything coming up with your stream or anything? You're really close to how many followers now?
2,000 followers.
Wow. Okay. So let's hope I'm sure you'll get to 2,000 before the next show. That I'm really looking forward to hearing about that. So if you haven't followed Kitty yet, go follow him. He's getting real close to that big 2000, and that's awesome. I'm really excited. And do you have any stream plans for the time being, or is work just kicking your butt too hard to come up with plans at the moment?
I've got some ideas to do, especially once we get to 2,000. I'm going to do a 12-hour stream.
Ooh,
and
okay.
I've got some ideas going on.
Even
for that,
more reason.
So.
Yeah.
It's gonna. I'm dreading it and looking forward to it at the same time.
Right.
I haven't done anything for 12 hours straight in years.
Yeah, that's a younger man's game for sure, so to speak. Before we do head out, a quick reminder that the Duck Hunt is going to be coming up on Saturday, September 25th. Still a few weeks away, but since we have the information ahead of time, I always love to mention it.
Yeah.
And that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our
Utini Rage
Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @utinicast, and you can find contact details for us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. Apparently, I'm really lagging out here hard at the end. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Or, it's a Twitch channel. Go to the Twitch channel. OotiniCast, twitch.tv/OotiniCast. Maybe I should just change that for this outro, because it feels like we've used that, and I'm sure it still works and all, but you could just go to twitch.tv/OotiniCast. That's basically all anyone's doing. All right, our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby, and thank you to the chat room, and we'll see you next show.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. All right, and we'll find someone to raid before we turn off the stream. But thank you for coming. And let's see. I gotta get over to
Thank you, everybody.
Dashboard. This will take just a moment. Manage stream. I should actually do this beforehand, but I never seem to. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Who's live? Let's see, Swotor. You know what? Since Marcus had me on, let's raid Marcus. Why not? I mean, we tend to do Marcus a lot anyway. We like Marcus. He's a great friend of the show and a good guy, and he's a lot of fun to watch. And definitely go check him out as well as Kitty. But yeah, so especially this time since I was just a guest on Working Class Nerds. Here we go. Bye, all right, we have to do the little timer thingy. And thanks for coming, everyone. Yep, I'll do the editing tonight. The podcast will go out tomorrow, and here we go. Okay, it is rated. I'm going to stop the stream, stop the recording.